Good morning. 5-minute devotional, Tuesday morning. We're going to continue our mini series here on wisdom. We'll be looking at the walk to Emmaus in Luke 24 today. And that's just going to be I'm going to work all the way around that a little bit. So it's going to be, I'm going to be pushing hard here to make this all connect, but the Lord will make it happen, I think, if it's supposed to. So, the walk to Emmaus, two disciples, after Jesus was crucified and rose 3 days later, two of the disciples were on the walk to Emmaus, and they were discussing everything that had happened and kind of reflecting on the last few days and everything that had happened in Jerusalem. And some guy showed up and started talking to him and telling him all kinds of information and wisdom and stuff like that. Well, this guy explained the whole Bible to him, basically how Jesus is the center point, the point of the whole Bible. You know, from Moses all the way through the Proverbs and stuff. This guy showed them where Jesus was at through all the Bible, through the Old Testament. And then they had walked all the way to Emmaus, and this man, they invited the disciples invited this guy in for the night, and they had some bread, and the guy broke the bread and handed it to him, and then all of a sudden they could tell, the veil was lifted off their eyes, and they could see, hey, this is Jesus. They were blinded to who it was the whole time on the walk, but when they realized it was Jesus, he disappeared. And so these disciples ran back to Jerusalem and told the other disciples, hey, we just saw Jesus. He talked to us. He explained the whole Bible to us from Moses on, and they were just excited. And then suddenly Jesus appeared to them in the whole group, and Jesus talked to him a little bit about, he got something to eat. He asked for some fish. He had a piece of broiled fish, but then he spoke to him about what he had told him, and this is what he said. This is Luke 24, verse 44. Then he said, "When I was with you before on the road to Emmaus, I told you everything written about me in the law of Moses and the prophets and the Psalms must be fulfilled." This is the key here. Then he opened their minds to understand the scripture. So he spent hours talking to him and explaining the things that were written in the Bible. And that's knowledge. He was giving them knowledge. He was passing information on to them. They didn't have the knowledge per se. And so he was passing the knowledge to them, saying, "This is what the scripture really is saying. Here it is." But they didn't understand it fully until Jesus opened their minds so they could understand the scripture. So that got me thinking. Okay, so knowledge, understanding, and wisdom, all the same, right? No, not quite. They kind of all work together, but they're not the same thing. Knowledge is just knowing something. Like, you can read the Bible and read it and know the words in the Bible. Like, you can know those, and that's knowledge. That's just information. That doesn't necessarily mean you have understanding or wisdom. Knowledge applied, knowledge used, creates understanding. So when we take the knowledge we have, and here Jesus gave them understanding. He just revealed what the information applied to them and gave them understanding. And we can pray for that too. That was a cool prayer. I saw it last night, and I was praying that in bed. Then he opened their minds to understand the scripture. So if you're reading the Bible and you've got some things you really don't understand, or it just doesn't make sense to you, or you don't get it, pray for understanding. God grant us understanding. And lastly, understanding leads to wisdom. When we understand something, we can know what to do next. So, I read it, I know it, I have knowledge of it. Okay, then I'm granted understanding, and now through my understanding, you understand fear in the Lord. Once you understand the Lord, you start to fear Him. Then through fear in the Lord and through growth and maturity, we get wisdom. And wisdom is, we know what to do with this understanding. We know what to do with the knowledge. We know how to apply it. We know where it applies and what to do next. So this is the stair step thing that I created this morning. I don't know if it's seeable, but it's like 3 steps. Knowledge leads to understanding, leads to wisdom. Knowledge applied leads to understanding. Understanding leads to fear of the Lord, and fear leads to wisdom. And that's the steps to wisdom. So if you feel like you don't have wisdom, or you're unsure about some things, that's okay. Nobody has wisdom off the bat, and in fact, very few have true wisdom. But don't be discouraged if you don't feel like you have wisdom, especially of Scripture, of heavenly things, of the kingdom of the Lord. If you don't understand it all, that's fine. But pray for understanding, and pray for wisdom. So if you got time, read Luke 24, the whole thing. It's so good. Tell somebody about Jesus today. Love somebody recklessly. Come to church, Whole Life Christian Fellowship. We're on US 12 east side of Sturgis, across from Medical Commons 2. Hope to see you there, 10 o'clock Sunday morning. All right, we'll see you at church.